Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of pressure at the moment, Bev, following what was an unusual week last week. Hamas released 3 proof-of-life videos of some of the people that are still being held captive inside Gaza. And so inside Israel, there's a real groundswell at the moment of pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu to reach some sort of an agreement to get those hostages home. For example, I was at protests in Tel Aviv on Saturday night where thousands of Israelis came to express their frustration and disappointment that a deal had not been reached up until this point. Many of them told me that they felt that the Israeli government was putting its military objectives to destroy Hamas, in their words, ahead of credible negotiations and diplomatic attempts to secure a hostage release deal. And they told me that they feel this moment now is really a crucial moment in time. They fear that this could really be the last credible chance to achieve some sort of hostage release and ceasefire deal, because Israel is planning this invasion into the southern Gazan city of Rafah. And people on the streets of Israel have told me they fear that if this Rafah operation goes ahead, that will be the end of any credible negotiations towards securing a hostage release deal. And you can feel that there has been a change in the mood in some sections of Israeli society. For example, the right-wing and conservative media in Israel, which until this point has been wholly backing the war and the continuation of the war, in the last few days, some very high-profile journalists, military commentators and other commentators in those sections have actually come out and for the first time called for an end to this war, some of them saying there's no logical reason to continue it. Two, Israel's former Prime Minister, Yair Lapid, has also in the last few hours come out for the first time also saying there needs to be a ceasefire. A ceasefire needs to happen now. Now, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is under enormous pressure, not just from the Israeli public, but also from within his own cabinet. There are members of his right-wing coalition that are ardently against any hostage deal, ardently against any ceasefire deal. They say a ceasefire deal now would be a reprieve for Hamas and give Hamas the opportunity to regroup and gather again. They say that if a deal goes ahead, they will quit the coalition, which would effectively bring down the government and end the prime ministerialship of Benjamin Netanyahu. That's something we know that Benjamin Netanyahu is looking to avoid, but he is in a precarious situation now, caught between what a large group of the Israeli public wants versus his cabinet. He has always said that he is putting the considerations of trying to get hostages home at the forefront, but certainly it seems that there is a growing mood here that that's not the case.
Yeah, as you say, a very tricky predicament for him, and he's also fighting for his political life, quite literally. Also, huge pressure from Israel's biggest supporter up until this point in the US, and potential, a potential break in how the US continues to support Israel if they don't genuinely come to the table with these ceasefire talks.
Yeah, the relationship between the United States and Israel is fractured in a certain sense. We have been seeing barbs between the United States President and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for some weeks now. What we saw a couple of weeks ago, though, with Iran firing rockets at Israel sort of almost seemed to mend a bit of that tension in that the United States has once again proclaimed its unwavering backing for Israel, and it has now again pledged more money to support Israel in arming its military for the operations inside Gaza. But the situation is still tense. The United States is not entirely satisfied in how Israel has been handling the humanitarian situation inside Gaza. They have continually called upon Israel to open up more land crossings, to allow more trucks through, to allow more aid to the millions of Palestinians who are suffering through a humanitarian crisis. Just overnight, Joe Biden held what is now at the moment quite a rare phone call with Benjamin Netanyahu. They say that both parties say the phone call was cordial, and what was discussed included this issue of humanitarian aid, but also crucially, Rafah. Rafah is a key sticking point. The United States knows that if Israel invades Rafah with the support of the United States, with the backing of United States money for weaponry here, that diplomatically could be quite damaging to the President Joe Biden, in particularly as he comes up for re-election. So as Antony Blinken will arrive here to Israel late tomorrow, local time, no doubt that conversation around Rafah will dominate what will be probably quite tense talks between the two. The United States says that Israel has given assurances that it will not invade Rafah before it has heard the concerns from the United States. But from the rhetoric that we've heard from Israel before, they have said that they will invade Rafah even without the support of their closest ally. They say that Rafah is where the last battalions of Hamas are still hiding, and they need to invade there. But at the same time, there are more than 1 million Palestinians that have fled to Rafah to escape fighting elsewhere in the Gaza Strip. The main concern for the United States would be the future of the lives of those innocent civilians who could potentially be killed should Israel launch this invasion.
Quite, it's just an intractable problem. Allyson, really good to get those updates from you. Thank you.